All right, in three, two, one. Back at it here on the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. So glad to have you along wherever you get your podcast. And like the Seattle Mariners, we're just winning. Somehow
That's
the
right. You
Mariners
know
beat
it.
the Tigers.
Whoop
I don't
whoop.
know. That was don't lie. You Mariners fans in the bottom of the ninth inning when you gave up a four spot and what was it? 3 runs? I guess actually they scored
It's
three
three
runs.
runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Oh, I
got
didn't
to eight
like
to
it.
four. You were like, and there was nobody out. Come on. I mean, you
I'll
were
get
Well, here's what actually happened. I'm at this Wolverines event. I saw Cal Raleigh hit the home run and the ball bounced into did you see that?
yeah,
The
that guy that
ball
was
bounced
hit it
into
here.
that guy's
Yeah.
hands with a 61 shirt on it, and then he took it off
Yeah.
and there's another shirt that says 62. Hilarious. Anyway, I actually decided, you know what? It's 8-1. It's the bottom of the top of the eighth. I'm gonna turn this off right now because I've got to concentrate on what's happening out here. And then when I checked the final score, it was 8-4. I was like, I don't
Oh,
like
interesting.
that. But I thought if they threw Vargas out there, that's probably what was going to happen. But at least they had a big enough cushion. But
I'm going to an Isaiah line here. I'm not going to lie. I was a little nervous.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
as Mariners fans should be. I mean, weird stuff tends to happen,
Oh,
And
100%.
so
100%. Win
yeah, we still
116 games, you can't even get to the World Series
yep. So
because those
yeah.
stupid, horrible team from the East Coast that we do not speak their name.
Oh, the Yankees. Oh yeah. Oh
No, we don't
yeah.
talk about that yet.
Hey, didn't they
Yeah.
did they beat the Jays today? I think they did. I think they did.
I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway. Well, we're not talking pro sports right now, obviously. I mean, a lot of sports are happening, but here in the state of Alaska, obviously, some big things happening as we get into the month of October. State championships for cross country running, and then also the state championship playoffs are happening for boys football and also flag football as well. And then we're starting to get into the beginning of hockey season as the Anchorage Wolverines later this week will get their hockey season underway at the Sullivan Arena. UAA Volleyball also happening as they stay on the road. We'll kind of recap what happened with the interstate rivalry between UAA and UAF. Brad, let's start with you and kind of recap the cross-country state championships. I know that you are out there. You saw a lot of the teams in action and saw some pretty impressive performances out there at Palmer.
Yeah, it seemed like there was no real contest or race that went right down to the wire. Winners were pretty impressive. 4A boys, the champion Katahdin, I would say, yeah. Staples. He's from East High School. He had a good fan base on hand. They made signs, and he came through. He took the gamble, Keaton. He bleached his hair, and not a fan of bleaching your hair because, if you're like a basketball team or swimming team and you lose, then you go around with bleached hair. I mean, you pretty much better win if you bleached your hair. But he was impressive, and I got to talk to him right after, and he's I think an interesting guy. He wore like a singlet from the '80s when he won last year. And then on the girls' side, it was Haley Wacoby. She's from Wasilla, and she won by a good margin, running in her area. She's probably pretty familiar with the trail. And then 3A boys, Braden Nottingham. He's from Mountain City Christian Academy. And you go to the 3A girls, it was a Delta Junction representative, Iris Haas. And then as you go to D2, boys champion was Boomchak Louts. Like that first name, Boomchak. Would have used that myself if I was aware of that name.
That's
And
that's an all tournament name team right there.
for sure. And then was Jenna Meisner. Now, Isaiah and I would say Meisner. You would say Meisner. I don't know. We've seen it both ways. But she's from Wrangell. And I got to tell you, as I look through the scores, Southeast teams acquitted themselves very well in that smaller division. Petersburg won the boys. Wrangell won the girls. So I think they took a little pride in coming from their part of the world and executing and while I'm on board here, I'll go up the line. Petersburg, the winner on the boys' side, followed by Wrangell and Unalaska. On the girls' side, 1, 2, 3 was Wrangell, as we mentioned, Unalakleet, and then Petersburg. And then you go to the girls on um, the 3A or Division Two. I don't know why I say it. They keep changing. But number one was Homer, then Seward. Grace was always a power. They think if you go to Grace, 1/3 of their students are required to go out for cross country run. And on the 3A boys side, Homer also winner there. Grace was second. Mountain City came in third. And then the 4A, Keaton, I'm going to give you a guess without looking. Now, don't look at your paper. Who do you
Okay.
think? Who do you think won for the girls on the 4A level?
Um, with a whopping 42 points. The Chugiak Mustangs, I think.
Yeah. And what I did, I don't know, I sent you some pictures, but I knew that I was going to get out of the rain. I was going to go try and watch a game in town. So I did a prediction. I took a picture of the Chugiak team even prior to the race. They were able to come through on that one, as they have all year. And then Colony came in second, West Valley, third place in that division. And then in the 4A, South High School, coached by Sarah Miller, then Colony, who took second in both the 4A categories. And then Kodiak, apparently they found a good place to run on the rock. I wonder if they circle around the rock, they climb mountains, but they were able to come in fourth, even though they're a little smaller school at the 4A level. I'd say you get up. It's numbers, it's letters, it's combinations of numbers and letters in terms of categories. I don't know.
For what? I totally missed that one.
Well, we have 4A boys in some classification. I think
Oh,
D1 runners and not 3A girls, but it's D2 runners.
yeah. It's really the only thing that's 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A anymore is volleyball and basketball. Everything else is kind of division ones, division twos, and even volleyball, the low division isn't 1A, it's mixed six. So it's definitely transitioned a lot more in the D1s and D2s and D3s.
I think, one good thing is as we go through the season, it's kind of hard to track cross country. So it's good to be able to give them a little more recognition with their state tournament, maybe even the first state tournament of the school year. And we don't want to miss out on recognizing those folks who work so hard.
No, totally. I agree with you. And this also deserves a shout out. I was looking at the state championship records for D1 girls. The Chugiak Mustang girls, they have won now 5 consecutive state championships in D1 girls cross country running. 5 in a row. Last team other than Chugiak to win a team state title back 2019, it was the South Anchorage Wolverines who won the D1 girls state title that year. That year, the Chugiak Mustang girls program finished in 5th place. So there you go.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
that's
5
pretty
in
good.
a row. Yeah,
You win 5 state titles in a row. I say you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
Got a
Same.
solid program going.
That's great.
So yeah, of course, the first state championship, finished, completed, in the books. More state championships coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Of course, a lot of people excited about football and flag football state championships coming up. But before we get to those matchups coming up, we were talking briefly prior to the recording. You guys hadn't heard how the South and Service boys tackle football game finished up, have you?
No, I guess
No.
maybe we might have been at church when it finished.
It's quite possible. It is quite possible. So that game between South and Service being played at Service High School on a Saturday night, 7 p.m., right? And night game, senior night, all the fun stuff, right, for Service. And early on in the second quarter, power out, right?
Oh,
They lose power, okay? Now, here's where things get interesting. As soon as the power cuts, all right, I don't have any photographic evidence of this other than people telling me what is happening. From the South sidelines, glow sticks start emerging immediately. Like, come on, like something is happening here. Like this is pre-planned. Like somebody has cut the power, planning to do this. And like South has all the glow signs, glow sticks, everything on their sideline. And it's just like, huh, this is kind of interesting. And then I think I want to say a couple of nights before that, their field was vandalized. I don't know if you guys heard about that
Uh-uh.
either. There was horse manure on the field. There was a whole bunch of dirt and stuff. Like field was vandalized, took a while to clean up. So there's something shady going on here between
Hmm.
South and Service, and I don't know, but it seems a little odd that South would have glow sticks preemptively and glow signs ready to go as soon as the power cuts, right? But they ended up finishing the game on Sunday afternoon. And Service prevailed, by the way. It was a big game in terms of the matchups for seeding purposes, right? I mean, South potentially could have got to a number 2 seed, maybe even a number 1 seed, depending on how things shook out. Service, could have vaulted themselves a little bit higher. Obviously, they did with the win. But I think it's the first time that a game is finished on a Sunday in ever in a long time. I mean,
For
I think
football, yeah, I would say so.
I
I don't remember any Sunday games when I was
I
working
remember
there.
what early 2000s down in Ketchikan. There was a state championship event. Was it wrestling maybe that was postponed because of flights? Like they couldn't make it in
There
for
there's
weather.
been some things that have happened like that, and especially for basketball, there's a lot of Sunday games that
Yeah.
end up happening. But for football, that's so why did they finish on Sunday then? Why the power went out, but it never came back on?
I don't know if it was too late by the time they figured it out. Like I couldn't figure out where the power was. I haven't heard the whole ins and outs of the story other than they lost power. Power was cut, like not just to the field, but like from my understanding, to the school as well. Like something major happened. Like, and they couldn't, I don't know if they couldn't restore it in time, couldn't figure it out, whatever it might be, but they postponed the game until Sunday afternoon, picked it up in the afternoon, and Service ended up winning that game. Oh, final score here. Final score 24-19 over the
Wow.
South Anchorage Wolverines. So, yeah, I mean, just it's kind of a weird situation there at Service.
That's
So it's just
that's
odd.
there's definitely something going on.
Oh yeah,
100%.
A
somebody's doing something.
couple of things from years ago, way back when Diamond grass, and it's the first year they had turf, and just a few days prior to the game, there were images on the grass, which or you occasionally see as graffiti. Um, Not pleasant images, but so back then it might have been Service. There was probably a Service Diamond thing, and now I think there's a Service South thing, and I don't know. We'll wait and see. We got a lot of people we know that are security people.
Yeah.
They're bound to get to the bottom of it.
Well, what's wild is, I mean, I know the high school has cameras, right? But there's no power, so the cameras aren't going to pick anything up. Uh, so
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
it.
No
I mean,
power.
like you're not. I don't know. So it's interesting. I'll be curious to see how this whole thing kind of shakes out, and like who's the culprit behind this. But I just thought it was kind of bizarro, at least from my understanding, is that as soon as the power is cut, there's like glow sticks across the sideline, signs. Like I'm like, ooh, that's seems a
That's
little premeditated here. Like this.
there's something going on.
Anyway,
That I'm sure the
but
ASAA office was a little busy this week.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it
Uh,
was. But Service winning that matchup on Saturday or Sunday afternoon, I should say. Rock Phelps back under center for the first time in a couple of weeks. He obviously made a huge difference. He rushed for a season high 135 yards and also had 3 scores for the Service Cougars to take down the South Anchorage Wolverines 24-19. And so that game had playoff implications again in terms of seeding for Division One playoffs. So uh, South, by virtue of getting that victory, or Service, excuse me, by virtue of getting that victory, in third place now in the Cookie Inlet Conference. South fell to fourth place in the Cookie Inlet Conference. So,
Wow.
yeah, kind of shook things up just a little bit, especially there in the middle. Uh, Rest of the scores from D1 football: Bartlett taking down Colony. Kind of a close one. Colony was actually leading for a little while there in the first half, 3-0. Bartlett ended up, once again using their defense and taking down the Colony Knights 15-3. East stringing together a couple of wins there towards the end of the season as the Thunderbirds picked up a 4-point victory over the Dimond Lynx, 24-20, and then West going against Juneau and the West Anchorage Eagles taking down the Juneau Douglas Crimson Bears 44-8. And then, of course, the Sunday game, Sunday night football or Sunday afternoon football.
Sunday afternoon football.
Service taking down South 24-19. So the D1 standings finished like this. West is the number one seed going into the postseason as they finished with a 6-1 conference record, 7-1 overall. Bartlett is the 2 seed at 5-2. Service is also at 5-2, but Bartlett holds the tiebreaker over Service. South is the 4th seed at 5-2. Juneau at 3-4 is the 5 seed. The 6th seed is the East Anchorage Thunderbirds at 2-5. Dimond is the 7 seed at 1-6, and Colony is the 8th seed at 1-6. So you can kind of already start to put the pieces of the puzzle together for your matchup. It'll be West versus Colony, Bartlett versus Dimond, Service versus East, and then South versus Juneau. Nope, check that. Hold on. Why am I getting all West Colony, Bartlett Dimond, Service East.
Service
Sorry.
East.
Yep. And then South and Juneau for your D1 matchups. So some interesting matchups.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
I actually think there's some heavy favorites. Sometimes we thought it was a close league, that South Juneau one will be interesting, but Juneau hasn't played well away. I just expect West at home to play well against Colony. Bartlett, they got Deuce.
Deuce.
That guy, he's as good a player as we've ever seen here. Boy, they had a highlight the other night where he was triple teamed. He rolled off of it, had a diving interception. I think he's heading to Boise State, but he's playing at that level already. And I think they have an article about him in the Daily News, and you just can't say enough about him. I know you really like him, Keaton.
No, he's a fantastic defensive player, probably one of the best defensive talents that we have seen in the state for a little while. Anybody want to make a prediction for D1 state football? Who's going to be in the state championship game in a couple of weeks from now? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll make a prediction.
All right, Isaiah, give us one.
Absolutely.
All right, what do you got?
I think it's going to be West and Bartlett.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I say that,
all right,
reason I say that is you got to look at who they have to go through for that. The 1 and 4 will be on that side, and then Bartlett's going to have to go through Service or through an East who's playing well towards the end of the season. Bartlett, when you have a defensive player, when you have somebody that is that caliber, yeah, he's going to have to not play well for them not to get to the championship.
Yeah,
that's I just, when it comes to those kind of times and the lights are on and you have players that might get a little tight in playoffs, lean on those guys who got you there, and he's one of them, obviously.
Totally. Brad, you want to make a D1 state championship game prediction?
I hate making predictions when you broadcast games and you talk about games. But
that's fair.
I will say that
absolutely.
Isaiah went out on a limb and picked the one. But I would also say there's a thing called chalk. And when you say chalk, that means, the higher seed team, it goes the way it's supposed to go. And I think that's a real possibility. I think it'll go chalk in the first round, and then the second round, there's a high possibility to go chalk. So that would be my prediction.
Okay. All right. Since I'll be calling the state championship game on the 24th out there at Colony High School, I'll refrain from predicting a matchup, but I will give you an upset.
All right? I like that.
First round upset. East over Service. Calling it
Really?
now. East
Calling it
over
out.
service. Market, market. All right. And for all you service listeners, use it as bulletin board material. I don't care, but I'm
Uh,
calling it. So
always hope they're not playing that game in the dark. I mean,
yeah, yeah. Well, it is at 7 o'clock at night on Saturday. So
Well, luckily, service service has lights. Now, depending on what's been happening, and we don't know the whole story, South plays Saturday at 1 o'clock, but service doesn't play until 7. So they might have
right.
to have a security person just kind of where those lights are. Just a
Oh
thought.
my gosh. It's such a wild thing, man. It's
That is
so
pretty
wild.
wild.
Yeah. Uh, give you the times for the D1 matchup. 7 o'clock on Friday. West is going to take on Colony, and then the other three games are on Saturday. Isaiah mentioned the South Juneau matchup at 1 o'clock, and then Bartlett and Dimond also at 1 o'clock, and then Service and East at Service at 7 p.m. If you're going to that game, bring a flashlight, maybe. Don't know. Don't.
But
I mean, never
it's
know what's going to
not a
happen.
bad idea. Just
Yep.
be prepared.
Yep. Always be prepared. So, anyway, there's your D1 football matchups. You can go to ASAA365.com. You can check out the brackets and things like that. And, maybe you can fill out your own bracket, make your own prediction, see how far you get. So, D2 football is a little fewer teams. Not all 8 teams make it. Only the top 4 teams in D2 football make it. Recap the scores from last week prior to us getting into the matchups for D2 football. The Potato Bowl, Palmer and Wasilla. The Palmer Moose blanking the Wasilla Warriors 33-0. The Chugiak Mustangs with a 3-point victory over the Eagle River Wolves 17-14. Soldotna with a victory over North Pole 49-19. And then the Dog Bowl, as they call it up in Fairbanks.
Yeah. Dog bowl.
29-36 win, 36-29 win for Lathrop over West Valley. So, because North Pole lost to Soldotna, that knocked them out of the playoffs regardless. So, West Valley ends up getting that spot in Division Two. If North Pole was to have won that game and then Lathrop was to hung on, North Pole would have actually gone into that spot over West Valley. But since both teams lost, West Valley had the tiebreaker over North Pole. They're in the playoffs as the number 4 seed. So your D2 matchups going into this weekend, Friday and Saturday, semifinals, Palmer and Lathrop, and then Soldotna and West Valley. Now, those 2 games are going to be some terrific matchups. I mean, just based upon the regular season. If you remember the Soldotna West Valley game, it was a 28-21 win for Soldotna in West Valley. This game going to be taking place down in Soldotna. So we'll see what happens this go around. But West Valley certainly gave them a run for their money in the regular season. Palmer and Lathrop, if I remember correctly, it was a fairly high-scoring game between the Moose and the Malamutes. I'm trying to find the score from earlier this year. Somebody should really make the website like a little bit more user-friendly. Just a suggestion. Why can't I find the score? Could somebody find that score for me? Palmer and Lathrop. Anybody?
Palmer Lathrop.
Palmer, Lathrop.
I'm on it.
I feel like it was a pretty high-scoring game.
yeah, I'm at school. I have my
40-24, does that sound right? Double check that.
Double check in.
Palmer winning 40-24. The only thing that I worry about Palmer is their defense, right? I know the offense can hang in there and put up points with anybody. We saw that, in their first game against, Soldotna.
Yep, it was 40-24.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for double
And
checking
it was
that.
at Palmer.
Yeah. And so Lathrop has to go down to Palmer yet again. But like I said, offense for Palmer, not worried about it. They'll put points up. The defense, that is the worry point for me. The defense has shown some stretch marks, so to speak. Some times where they have been weak defensively against some teams that may not have had some, higher power offenses or anything like that. But, Chugiak putting up, what was it, 21 against Palmer a couple of weeks ago. We know that Sohai put up a lot of points back in week one. Obviously, teams are going to make adjustments. Things are going to change, but we'll see how it shakes out this go around. So on Friday night, Palmer versus Lathrop out of Palmer, and then on Saturday afternoon down in Soldotna, if you want to make the trip down to the peninsula, 1 o'clock game between Soldotna and West Valley for your D2 football semifinals. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I would say you don't bet against Soldotna, not at this time of the year. I mean, we can hype up that game a little bit, and maybe they're a little more vulnerable than they've been, but it's not always the swiftest and the fastest that wins the race, but that's the way to bet. And so then with Palmer, I just think they have a culture within football. They've had a little dip, but I think they've kind of revived and brought it back to a level we've seen them at before. So I would expect Soldotna and Palmer, and I'll go back to my original premise. You don't bet against Soldotna.
It's probably a good call. A good call this time of year.
It was a close game, like you said, Keaton, 28-21 with West Valley and Soldotna in mid-September. But that was up in Fairbanks, and now Fairbanks is traveling down to Soldotna. I just see that as, like Brad said, you don't bet against Soldotna in the playoffs. I definitely am seeing a Soldotna Palmer final. Now, Lathrop, we all know what's happened with Lathrop the past few years. They're a staple in the state championship game, so you never know. But I think those are, I hate to say chalk because I know you guys call the games and all that. I don't call the games, but I think the D2 is going to go chalk, and we'll see a Soldotna Palmer championship. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
It would be kind of interesting if it shook out that way. I mean, those two teams playing all the way back to start the season into week one, and if they ended up playing in the state championship game to see how it goes the second time around. I mean, Sohai won that game 77-41 or something of that nature back in week one. So
77-41.
So if they play again for the state title, it'd be curious to see if it's that high of a shootout, in a state title game. So that's your Division II matchups coming up. Again, this Friday, semifinals. Only the top 4 teams from the D2 making the playoffs. So semifinals getting an earlier start than the D1 schools. Division III also starting their playoffs this week with the semifinal round as well. Recap some Division III scores from last week. Homer taking down Kodiak 48-8. Barrow with a 16-0 win over Kenai, and then Reddington with a 44-20 win over Houston last week in D3 football. And so the Division III football matchups also set as well. As Barrow and Kenai will take on each other, and Homer and Reddington in the other semifinal. Mentioned 9-man football. Seward and Monroe Catholic will play in the first round. They will then, the winner of that matchup in 9-man football will take on the Student Wrestling Development Program, the private academy school that is playing 9-man football this year for the first time. I don't think they've lost. If I've looked at any scores in 9-man football.
Their line, I would assume their line play is pretty good being wrestlers.
I would say they're probably,
Just a thought. Just throwing it out there.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So the SWDP Student Wrestling Development Program getting a bye automatically in the state championship for 9-man football. Again, they'll take on the Seward Seahawks or the Monroe Catholic Rams, the winner of that game advancing to the state title game in 9-man football. By the way, both Division III games on Saturday, Barrow and Kenai at noon, and Homer and Reddington at 2 o'clock. So, and I believe Barrow is hosting Kenai, and Homer is going to host Reddington, I believe, in the first round. So,
Gonna be cold.
There you go. Gonna be
Kenai,
cold.
bring your thermals.
That's it. Yep. That's a long road trip. There you go.
It's a long road trip, but
I feel like we talked about that at one point. Like, that's got to be the longest road trip. I mean, Juneau. I mean,
But the
but
nice thing is they get to fly, so
true.
it's a relatively it's a long air miles, but time
2 hour
wise, it's not like driving to Homer.
2 hour plane ride,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I doubt there's a direct flight from Kenai to Barrow. I don't think. I don't know. But
No,
yeah, I don't
no,
think
I
so.
don't think so.
But
It'll
anyway,
it'll definitely be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, it's a
yeah,
long one.
it's a long one. It's a long one. So tackle football matchups are set again. Go to ASAA foot or ASAA365.com to check out all the times for all the Division One, Division Two, Division Three state football championships. Flag football also is set as well as they get ready to play the second annual state championship. I guess you can call it now
Yep.
for flag football. Um, as we take a look at the bracket for girls flag football. Uh, give you the matchups and the dates and times of these matchups here starting on Thursday. Dimond and Bartlett will play in the opening round on Thursday at 11 a.m. Wasilla and West will play at 5 p.m. on Thursday. North Pole and Service will play at 1 p.m. Thursday, and South and Colony 3 p.m. on Thursday. All these games, by the way, are taking place at Wasilla High School. So
Yep.
the quarterfinal round, the semifinal, and the championship on Saturday. All flag games taking place at Wasilla High School. So just put that, in the memory bank, filed away. There's no different locations for the different rounds or anything like that. But um, I don't know. Some of these flag matchups kind of interesting. Wasilla, Brad, has seemed to be kind of the cream of the crop in the valley for flag football.
I'm kind of wondering, Wasilla just seemed to be ready to cruise that number one seed, but where in the Cook Inlet Conference they went on regular season play um, with the Wasilla's League and North Poles League. They had a conference tournament, and then if you won the conference tournament, you got the number one seed. So it looked for all the world that the number one seed would have been based on regular season play. Wasilla on one side, Dimond the number one seed in the Cook, and they would be on opposite sides. Instead, they're on the same side of the bracket, so they could easily be the teams in the semifinals. I think the Bartlett Dimond game could be a trap game because Bartlett, they're not always with all their kids in the beginning of the year. They get better as the year goes on. So be curious to what happens that game. Wasilla plays West, and West didn't have as good a year as they normally had, but they've always been a pretty strong team. They probably lead all flag football teams in the runner-up position. I don't know if they've ever won a championship. And then North Pole, they won last year. They won the tournament up there. They have those kids back. Of course, it's not a easy drive to get to a North Pole game up there, but I'm anticipating they had good coaching. They run good stuff. So I'm curious to see that. I think Service had a tough finish to the season, and South kind of finished on a strong note, and they have Jillian Preston as quarterback. And you look at the sports report, they have a lot of her stats, which are really impressive. The number of yards that she has gained. So that'll be an interesting tournament. And, with flag football, you can play it like other tournaments in 3 straight days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Obviously, with tackle football, you got to plan for a week between games.
Yeah, so you don't have to wait as long to find a state championship for flag football. That is true. I mean, Thursday, Friday, Saturday matchups, you can
Yep.
play those three consecutive games and uh, get the state championships knocked out in 1 week for flag football. Again, those championships start this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You can get your tickets ASAA 365.com, get them online or get them in person at Wasilla Veterans Memorial Stadium uh, starting this Thursday. A lot of football coming
Yeah,
up.
say one thing, Keaton.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't mean to be critical of anybody. No, I just think although you do play three, or you have the potential to play three in a row, they've added, some games for the other teams, and essentially you could just play the championship game, and it would only be two teams playing 3 games in a row. And I think the more teams play 3 games in a row, the more chance you have for injury. So I'm not so sure that the last day. Maybe you play the third place game, but you don't make
I see what
all
you're saying.
plays
Yeah.
in a row.
That's a valid point. I mean,
Yeah, they
but
added
like
the fourth and sixth place and the third and fifth this year. Because
for
last year it
flag,
was
yeah.
for flag, because last year it was just the 2 game guarantee. And then I remember because Division 2 football, no, excuse me, Division 3 football was being played at Wasilla that same day. We just had the championship and then the D2 afterwards. And because it's just getting so cold too. It was last year, I remember I stood outside.
Um,
That was brutal.
well,
That was brutal.
press box, I'll tell you that. I mean, wind was whipping through. I brought that heated vest, like I'm going hunting. I'm not going to be underdressed this year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that wind just was the wind and the temperature last year for flag football was brutal.
Yeah, whatever. It's football season. Let's
Keaton,
go.
he's
Yeah.
True. True.
he, hey, let
Uh,
me throw in some volleyball stuff, and then I'll run and get an update and say goodbye to
all
you.
right. All right.
Last week, I watched Dimond and South. They're the top 2 teams in the league, and South, really both teams very competitive. South ended up with a win. I talked to Ellie Clevin after the game. She's the setter. I talked to Komet, who's the hitter, and those two among the very best in the league. And they beat Dimond 3-1. Now, Dimond, when they played South in the earlier time, they beat them 3-0. So if both teams win out, Dimond has the tiebreaker. So we'll see what happens there as the season winds down. Still like Chugach, like Service as dark horses, and apparently East wants to join the ranks of the dark horse because they're playing pretty well tonight. But still a lot of volleyball. That's a very long season. They have in-season tournaments coming up and region tournaments and state tournaments. So um, it'll be interesting. I'm going to go check the East score. I know there's hockey for you guys to talk about, and also high school and then college volleyball, those kind of things. Pete, I know you're keeping a close eye on that.
Yeah, at least I try to. I mean, it's kind of required when you broadcast the games. I mean,
Yeah,
it
that's
helps.
important.
It helps.
Yeah,
it
it
helps to
does.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, Brad. Enjoy. Maybe we'll catch you here in a few with an update. I don't know. He's just kind of left us hanging in the gym.
In the gym.
Just left his phone there.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yep,
he did,
that's
like it's still on.
oh man.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
maybe we'll get an update. Maybe we won't.
Maybe we will. Anyway, I'll give you an
We'll
update
find out later.
on UAA volleyball. The Seawolves had one game last week in which they took on their in-state rival, the Nanooks of UAF. UAF, a top 25 program for the first time, as they came in number 23 in last week's rankings. The Seawolves went on the road and they lost their first conference game of the year. Both these teams came in tied for first place in the GNAC conference last Thursday, but the Seawolves dropping a match to the Nanooks in 4 sets. As UAA won the opening set, but then lost the next 3 sets, and they were pretty close sets. It's not like UAF ran away with them. I think the third set ended up going into a couple of extra points as well. But this upcoming portion of the schedule, it's going to be brutal. They played number 23 UAF, and now they have to go on the road still to take on number 20 Western Washington and then number 7 Simon Fraser. So they play 3 opponents that are in the top 25 here in the next 3 matches, including UAF match last Thursday. So on Thursday and Saturday this week, Seawolves taking on Western Washington and also Simon Fraser as well before they're back home at the Alaska Airlines Center on October the 16th to take on Central Washington. So It's going to be an interesting portion of the schedule. And if the Seawolves can come out of the road trip, you know, if you come out 2-0 on this road trip, awesome. If you come out 1-1, that's a win as well. 0-2 would be tough. So, but we'll see what happens against Western Washington. Simon Fraser. Brad is back. What's the update?
Well, East won that first one. Got to give him credit. Dimond came back and won 2 sets. They're in the third, or I guess this is the 4th set. But because we've been talking football, Dimond Volleyball went up 7-0 to start the 4th set. So they're in a good position right now. And want to encourage people, too. You mentioned volleyball. They're having an outstanding season, and people need to tune in to the Go Seawolves stream because you're going to be giving them all the action.
Yeah, our next home game, October 16th against Windsor, Washington. You can also get your tickets online at goseawolves.com as well. Update on UAA news as well. I don't know if you guys heard about this happening inside the athletic department, but the Seawolves looking for a new athletic director. Ryan Swartwood moving on as he's now the athletic director at Cal State Northridge, going back to a place where he was the assistant athletic director for a little bit of time. So want to send a shout out to Ryan Swartwood. Over the last few years, he's been a pleasure to work with. He's done a lot of great things for the athletic department at UAA. Wishing him nothing but the best and his family the best as they move back down to California. And he moves on to some new endeavors with Cal State Northridge. I think the whole entire UAA athletic department is just going to California. That's what I'm thinking. Women's basketball team, the AD, it's a pretty nice place, I guess. But
yeah,
anyway.
I think he was kind of a behind the scenes guy. He didn't, step to the forefront, take all the credit. I think people need to realize too that he has young kids. And
he does.
So it really makes sense from his point of view. And I think, the type of things he moved UA forward, seeing a lot of commercials now on social media, and I think they've kind of laid a groundwork to continue to build on. It'd be interesting to see. There's no obvious candidate to take his place, as I can see. But we'll look forward to how that pans out.
Yeah, and be interesting to start, hearing who's going to apply and things like that. So we'll keep an ear to the ground on the potential new athletic director for UAA. But once again, huge shout out to Ryan Swartwood, and wishing him nothing but the best of luck down there at Cal State Northridge. One final note before we get going. Isaiah, it's that time of year this weekend. Game number 1, the Anchorage Wolverines, as they get ready to host their first game at the Sullivan Arena, taking on the Minnesota Wilderness.
Yep, Minnesota Wilderness. They played them. This is the first home game. They just got back from Wolverines. Just got back from a 3-week road trip, so they're going to be very, very happy to be playing at home for the first time this year. And they play Minnesota Wilderness, which is a pretty stacked team with some real talented kids who've been with that program for a little while. So it's going to be some really good games this weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all 7:30 at night, each night at Sullivan. So get your tickets. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's giveaways. We've got some special things and fun things planned for entertainment for the family and all the fans there.
Is it? Oh, go ahead, Brad.
Say something about the Wolverines commercial. Boy, that thing is well put together, and it really shows some of the excitement that's been brought back to Sullivan Arena. It was just a few years ago that the Sullivan Arena kind of fell off the map as a happening place, or at least not happening for the reason.
A sports venue, anyway.
yeah, pretty much.
Wolverines are bringing excitement back to Sullivan Arena and really the city of Anchorage.
No, they really are. It's a good energy with the Anchorage Wolverines, and excited to get the season underway. Isaiah, go ahead.
We just finished and I'll just speak to the excitement of it. We just had kind of a season ticket holder VIP sponsor event tonight. Just kind of an open house, 6 to 8 o'clock tonight. We had a little bit of food there for people, and you could meet the team and all that. And we we're anticipating, based on the history, 100, throughout the 2 hours. We had over 200 people there in the
Nice.
first 20 minutes.
Wow.
Ran out of food. I mean, it was unbelievable. Yeah,
Nice.
Uh,
You know,
it's pretty good.
wait for our invitations, I believe.
it got lost in the email.
Yeah, it got lost
Like,
in the mail. Yeah, sorry about that.
I don't know.
Nathan Robbins, did his name come up? He's the goalie for Bemidji, but he's from Anchorage. But like a lot of kids, he went to juniors elsewhere.
Hmm.
I have to say he's a diamond kid, and if you go out to eat a variety of places around town, his dad will fill you in on how he's doing. So I guess he was the winner the first game in the goal. Bemidji won 9-2, so he's repping Anchorage well.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention UAA hockey because it was off to a rough start, but now you brought it up. They lost the 2 games to open up the year to Bemidji State. Mentioned the 9-2 loss, a little bit closer in game number 2. I think it was a 5-0 victory for Bemidji State in that second game. But yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I know it's our job to cover the wins and losses, but I didn't really want to cover that one. But Isaiah, I wanted to ask you if this promotion is real with the Anchorage Wolverines. If they score 7 goals, free hot dogs and beers is what I heard.
No, that's
no.
That's definitely
okay.
not real. No.
That's not a real promotion.
That's not real. I can unequivocally tell you that is not a real promotion.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry.
something to think about. Something to think about.
Something to think about. Okay.
Good at.
I'll put that on the list.
Just throw it up there. I mean, 7 goals. I mean, that's quite a few. I'm just saying. I mean,
it's quite a few, but you look at some of the scores around the league.
True. That's true. Okay, let's find 10. 10. You get to 10.
10.
Do 10. I'm just kidding. Think of all the people.
If you know what that's from, you're
a
good
old
movie. You're a good movie buff.
Yes. You were alive in the 90s.
Yeah.
So
we're alive in the 90s.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Alaska Sports Talk podcast. Once again, state championships coming up. Be sure you go to ASAA365.com, get caught up on all the scores and also the times coming up for quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship games for football, and then also
flag football will be streamed on the network.
And flag football.
Yeah, don't want to forget saying that.
Yes, the NFHS network is definitely the place to be if you cannot make the games in person. Go to nfhsnetwork.com and you can log in, subscribe, and watch all the football and state championship events that you would like right there, all in one place. That's going to do it for Isaiah Vreeman, Brad Lowers, Keaton Homer. We'll see you out there this week for state championship events somewhere out there in the sports universe.